What is the human condition? And when you look and examine the human condition, you will see that it is a play of opposites. And those opposites are in a tension between each other. And this causes a conflict within a person because the seeking of every being is for wholeness, or for healing, you could say, for oneness, for unity, for love. So recapping, hey is the ability to see the human condition as it is. That's really important, as it is, not how you imagine it should be, or not how you criticize it for not being. Just to see the dynamic of what it is to be human. All of it, not just little compartments, the whole array and the potential for everything. So all of manifestation is examined, hey. Hey, I just realized it's a great word. It's like, hey, wake up. Look what is, hey. Hey to, what is the cause of our suffering or our part to play or our participation in this humanness? What is the cause of our suffering in it? What is our cause of our struggle with it? What is our cause of trying to make it something that it is not? And we came to discover in our satsangs that it is the identification that I am only calling myself or identifying who I am, only in that field, the human field, or you can say the phenomena of change, of opposition, of form, of measurements, which essentially is to say within the dimension of waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. So if you're only knowing yourself as the one who wakes, and all that which comes with waking, and the one who sleeps, either dream or deep, then that is only the partial you. So the cause of suffering is not in the thing, in the person, or in the situation, as we discovered. It is in the identification that I am half. I am only this. And to now realize that this doesn't need to be annihilated in order to know the full story. It is an expansion. Hence, inquire, explore, expand. Expand your identity to include the fullness of you, the other side of the story which cannot be measured and is not bound in the waking state, has no form, and yet it sustains all forms. Hey to see what is the human condition and realize that our suffering in it is because we have only included ourselves as half of the story, the waking state personal I. Han, a state of liberation exists. A state is not even the right way to say it, actually. Liberation exists. Truth exists. Love exists. Joy exists. Han. If you don't know, and if you cannot have any exposure in your life, if one cannot have any exposure to knowing that this suffering, limited human experience is not the final thing. You're not bound to it. If they know there is a way to go beyond what is binding us, then they will remain limited. So just even to know, even to contemplate, even to hear that liberation is possible, which basically means even to contemplate that you don't need to suffer, that suffering on any level, physical, emotional, mental, or personal, your suffering is not needing, you don't need it. It is not necessary. We so dwell in our suffering only because we don't have the courage to confront ourselves and say, hey, hate you. Not I hate you. Hey, hate you. Han is my true nature. This is important. So it's not like the liberation is over there. My true nature is liberated. My true nature is true. My true nature is free. My true nature is pure. And we did a whole session just on the word pure. It was wonderful. So it's not like, that's why I pulled back when I said it's a state of. No, it's not a state of liberation. A state would have definition. A state would be something to attain. Your true nature, meaning before the waking state, you are true, you are love, you are pure, you are unchanging, ever present. So this underlying is your true nature. You are that. Underlying. As Susan said, it is being as opposed to becoming. Everything that is in the waking state is of becoming because it is a state of beginnings and endings. So that which begins must become, must start to decline, and must end. Everything that is of form, of things, gross, meaning obvious, or subtle, ideas. Idea is a form. We even say it, I formulated an idea. Anything that has a beginning, has a progress, has a goal to reach, a natural decline, and an end, is of the waking, dream, and deep sleep consciousness. It is of change. And that which we're describing now as your underlying true nature, or your original true nature. These words to try and craft the mind, or create a subtlety, actually, in the mind, to free it up from the rigidity that is the waking state concepts. So we use all these words. And play with words. Don't be rigid to the meaning of any word. Truth, love, being, original. Use them only knowing that they're helping to free up that knot inside that is of the waking state. The contorted position that a human being has to adopt in order just to try and not feel pain and grab a bit of joy. It's a huge struggle. Huge struggle. So they contort these personalities to not be judged harshly, to be accepted lovingly, and all the time not feeling authentic in oneself. Because there is a deep knowledge in every being of who they are. So we use all these words, and we're using these models and concepts and structures of these teachings. It's like a gymnastics for the mind. It goes in and massages them, releases all the knots that we've created out of concept. So that's Han. And then Han, Hanupai. Hanupai, what are the means, Upai? What are the means to live our original state, to live our birthright of freedom and joy and love and acceptance and compassion and inspiration and energy? What are those means? And so now it brings us to practice. Sadhana is another word to say it. So this is where we started talking. The sadhana should not be tight. The sadhana should be like a massage. And flow with it, rather than remaining rigid, to further solidify waking state ideas. Because there is none more subtly deceptive than the spiritual ideas. They are the most deceptive because they can really masquerade as true. So to not be afraid to confront every idea and examine it. So we went over this a couple of days ago. It's always worth revisiting because they say, the wise ones, dig one hole if you want to get to water, deep, rather than lots of little holes. You'll never reach water. So we're digging one hole. This whole 2 weeks together, I've just summed up in 10 minutes. We're not bringing more information now in these 3 days. These next 3 days are for practice, for integrating this knowledge into ourselves in a very authentic way, not through these preferences of our ideas. So, to inquire, what is truth? And what is the predicament of the human being? And line them up next to each other. Start to examine, as we have. What do I observe about being human? All that which we described. It is in the field of change. It is in the beginnings and endings. It is that which is never fully satisfying. It is that which is of others. It is that which is of conflict and of joy, changing, temporariness, etc. Now, juxtapose that to truth. What is true? What is self? Who am I? Unchanging, ever present, not in conflict, free from conflict, free from fear, free from the contortion of the personality mask. So to inquire to hear is called Shravan. That's to inquire also, not just to receive without really hearing. Are you hearing your ideas, your constructed ideas, and fitting the knowledge into them? Or are you open to truly hear? And the key to that is no judgment of yourself, right or wrong. Get out of the school model that you can succeed. That's why I loved that one point from Yop and Moldy yesterday. Their teacher saying, you can't get it right. It's not about getting it right. It is about examining boldly. I said the yogi is the warrior. Manan is to explore. Explore. Don't be quick to know. It's okay. You're not inquiring in order to know something. You're inquiring to explore that which you don't know. So how can you widen your mind if you're searching to know? And so then, of course, nididhyasan is the integration of this knowledge. So it expands your mind. All this inquiry, exploration is expanding your mind. And that is evolving how you live this truth in your day-to-day life. You will start to see less conflict, less struggle, less desire. So basically, this can be very easily looked at. All that which is known reaches a limit. Beyond that, known is not unknown, as one may anticipate. And religions are very good at giving a lot of explanation about the unknown. Philosophies also, systems, philosophies, ideologies. There's a lot of guesswork about the so-called unknown. So lastly, just to say, we have fully explored the known with eyes open So not to be deceived, not to be caught only in concepts, but we have freely opened our eyes to the known to now expand to the knower. You are knower. And this is a word, I know, but it's worth contemplating. Spend some time by yourself in your own satsang. And I want you to contemplate and meditate. And I want you to ask what. Get in the habit now of asking what, not why. Watch the tendency to say why, which is to look in the limited waking state realm of cause and effect. See the limitation of that and let it go. And ask what. Not with the idea that you're going to have, oh, I got the answer. Just keep asking, what is it? So I'm going to ask you, rather than saying, what do I want, which was my first question I asked you all on the first day, what is want? What is want? Explore it, expand it, and integrate your findings in the meditation.
When we introduce and come to understand Sanskrit words coming from
deep tradition,
that it allows me anyway to drop connotations, baggage, conditioned responses to language of my mother tongue.
Great.
And then once I'm really familiar with those terms,
yes,
when I think in that term, then it's somehow more deepening. You know what I'm saying?
Great.
Yeah.
So find what works for you. Some people maybe don't really particularly like the Sanskrit word, which is why I always give an English equivalent. So this is a good example, Han Upai. What means evolve you to live your original freedom, your original state of happiness? It can be Sanskrit words. Some people like to read scriptures. Some people don't like to read scriptures. Some people love to sing. Some people love to repeat mantra. Some people love the breathing techniques. Others do not. So the upai, the means, is very personal to you. Always be guided. It's very simple. What makes you tight? What makes you expanded? That's your indication. If it brings joy, love, ease in your system and in your relationships with people, keep doing that thing. If it brings a tightness, then stop doing that thing. Also, if the means that used to work for you now don't work for you, change it. Be flexible. Don't be rigid. Yes. That's a really good question that she's brought up.
That's so frustrating.
It is so difficult with your relations when you see them in pain to not want to jump in and save them. You cannot.
But in the meantime,
you cannot.
It's almost like I lose the relationship with that
You don't have, your sister is not really your sister. You have no relations in truth. I had a lot of baggage with my dad, and I think I jokingly imitated him one day. I came with a lot of baggage, and I thought I was going to be free from the baggage. That was what meditation was going to do. Meditation was going to free me from the baggage. Because you think you work on the bag. It's like you open that bag and you just stay with all the stuff in the bag. And there's a really beautiful image from the scriptures. You have to a little bit nod in the Indian context. When originally, before suitcases, the Indians would put all their belongings in a big bed sheet and tie it at the top. And they would carry it on their heads when they moved from place to place. So this is because if we have our Western idea of a bag, we're going to see it in our hands. So this is, you see it in the old days when the British came, put the railway line in. You can see those pictures. Everyone's coming with their baggage, with tied on in a big sheet on their head. So there's an expression, when you get on the train, put down your baggage. The foolish man is standing under the weight of his baggage on the train, thinking that he is taking his baggage to the destination. I am doing this. It's a great image. And it's what we do. I am doing this thing called liberation. And not only that, I'm going to liberate the world. I'm going to liberate my family. So when I came back after my father's funeral, and there was a big family issue that arose surrounding money, which is always a fantastic opportunity to prick everyone's aggressive nerve and a sense of injustice, like a bonfire. Nothing like money to trigger. I don't have, you have. It's fantastic. So I tolerated, I was 32, I think, at that time. I tolerated that time with my family, with the rose-colored idea that when I get back to Kulu, I'm going to ask Swamiji all this. I'm just going to present my baggage in front of him, and he's going to make it all okay. And I'm going to just once and for all dump this baggage in front of him. And it will be all healed. So with this hope, I managed to navigate my way through this family dynamic, came back, had an opportunity to sit in a small group, because you have to have a small group because it's personal. You can't bring your baggage public. So I was going to bring lists and lists, a whole story. And he welcomed me in lovingly. And I sat there, I said, Swamiji, I have a question about my father. And without a split second, he said, you have no father. And it just wasn't there. I couldn't, because everything that was to come after that was on the basis that he's my father. And it wasn't fake. I, in that moment, saw he's not my father. I can't describe it more. The sense of my had just been obliterated. My. There was no my in there. It was just this dynamic. It didn't take away the dynamic. It took away the my. And that took away the pain. The story is still there. I recently was going back. I still have to tiptoe around everyone's various hurts, because that's what human beings do. They're hurt and they act out of hurt. And they act out of hurt in all kinds of destructive ways. That's what it is. That's what it is. Your acceptance of that is to realize your purpose. What is your purpose? And if your purpose is to heal the world, good luck. But if your purpose is to know who you are, and that you is not bound by any sense of my relations, they are not your relations. They are your associations for a certain time. They say this one incarnation is one blink of Vishnu. That's it. Rebecca exists. There, gone. So then if Rebecca is only one blink, then my sister, my father, is even less than that blink. It's so tiny. It's so tiny. And only seeing it as it is can we be free of it. Because if you see it as big and you have to manage this big thing, you're the fool standing on the train suffering under the weight of this baggage. Put your baggage down. And the baggage it's mine. Let the train take it. It's not yours to take. There's a greater force making all of this a much greater force. Recognize that, and your struggle in a second is gone. Beautiful question, Penny. You have the courage. That's your job. You stick by your courage. If your sister is to suffer her own all incarnation, so be it. When this body is no more, there'll be no more association, my son. There'll be no story, and she will realize that. So she may not realize while she has this body, but she will realize that, and everyone realizes that when they don't have this body identification, which means the identification of me and mine. And that is why when we take on another body, we have this knowledge of freedom, because we saw it, we know it. We just simply didn't develop. We didn't come with language, and thereby we lost our way how to remember that. When you realize who you are, ever free, no association to anything that you have grasped or identified with, when you put your baggage in the energy of the train, as opposed to your individual self, which basically means seeing the world through your identified vision of me and mine. Me, waking state identity, and all that which comes with that waking state identity is mine or not mine. This is what the waking state is doing, right? That's what the intellect's job is. Is this mine or not mine? It has to be there. You have to have my child, otherwise you're going to be feeding someone else's child, and your child will starve. So it's not wrong. It's not you. It's a mechanism. So when you put down your baggage, you're not annihilating you. You're not associating with your baggage, and you're letting the train carry it, and you're free. So in freedom, then you act. And that's what we'll come to tomorrow. How does practice now lead to our purpose, our action? How do we bring this knowledge into action, which we'll explore in the last days? So you will know. Essentially, there's not that much to say really about action, other than when you know yourself, you act in wisdom. And the moment will call for that wisdom to be expressed however it comes. And it could even call for you to say to your sister, when you are free of your baggage, hey sister, you don't need to suffer. I love you and you don't need to suffer. And your genuine knowledge of that could also be received by her. We don't know. But our purpose is not to change her and to enlighten her. But of course, the freer you are and the wiser you are able to help others who come to you. Is it another question, or is this the same question? Does the answer still apply to this question? So this is what she was saying. Not who is mine. Who am I? So the first question was my sister. Now what did she ask? My DNA. My father. My tendency of doing.
My solution.
My solution.
In the what soup bowl where I'm all watery, and so my anger tendency.
But that's okay. We don't have to go from one extreme to the other also. Because we have these bodies also. So it's not like, oh, this is not mine, so I'm going to stop feeding it. When you know it's not yours, you love it more. That's the amazing thing, because it's the very attachment to it which is creating the hatred towards everything and the struggle of everything. Let go of the my and everything remains as it is. You're still on the train. Your luggage is just next to you and someone else is carrying it. The train is carrying it.
right or wrong.
So maybe helpful to think of it on the level of the body, the senses, the mind, which we just, for the sake of convenience, call on the functioning level, which also involves emotions, and let's just put everything on that functioning level. The teachings of right and wrong have been taught in order for us to know what is life supporting and what is life damaging. What will cut the life, hurt the life, and what will support the life. All rules are based on this. How to keep ourselves safe. And even more than safe, how to nourish each other. A school is not just a prison to keep kids off the street for the time when their parents are working. It's also a kind of prison, meaning a confined area where then the children are encouraged to be nourished intellectually, emotionally, socially. And so there has to be some rules, but those rules are based on what allows the human being to flourish and what suppresses a human being. But it gets the line between the functioning aspect of our existence and our pure being. There's a bleed area because nothing is in two parts. So you could say there's a gradient from very obvious, from total functioning to the perfection, as you said, universal, however you describe that, the universal subtlety. So this is a kind of gradient. And how does, basically you can say from manifestation to the source of manifestation, which is subtle. So the right and wrong has been used in order to what is helpful for your growth, for your safety, and for your nourishment on all levels, physical, mental, and emotional. And to stay away from or to steer away from those that will damage that. But because we haven't understood that that's what it's for, the ego mechanism has come in with its ideas. And of course, everyone has a different idea. Everyone puts their line in the sand, in that gradient, in a different place. So what is okay? Someone has said, hey, this is my boundary of what is okay, according to an idea. I've got an idea now, this is the line. Then someone comes and kicks that line and goes, no, actually the line is here. Now what do you have? You have a battle. You have conflict. Because everyone is trying to find the line in a completely random place. And it is relative. That's another word. Instead of functioning, it is a relative. On the relative level, meaning if you are driving south, drive on the left. If you are driving north, drive on the right. It's relative, it's practical. But where is it now that we're putting this line that worked in one place that is not working in another place, which is of your comfortability, your comforts, your ego wishes, the wish to be appreciated, the wish to change your sister's attitude towards you, the wish to attract someone towards you, the wish to be at peace. And these are not relative wishes. And so this will help you now in the exercise today. What is want? On all levels, explore. What is want? In order to try and satisfy the wants, which are so many and so many different gradients on so many different levels, from gross to subtle, that's why you have to have governments to now agree on how do we satisfy the want. And then what do we notice? As soon as you have a government, you have to have an opposition. When you have opposition, you have conflict. Then they decide on something. Is everyone included in that decision? No. So they go for the majority. The majority should get their wants satisfied. Is that really what is best we can do? Just satisfy the majority? And even then, they're not truly satisfied because their wants change or their wants continue. So our wants are many, and even when you get your want, you want more. And then you start to blame the object of your want because they're not satisfying your want, etc., etc. We know this. So let's examine. Not trying to find what is the answer to this conundrum of a human being's search for what is right and what is wrong in the relative field. What is that underlying truth which is neither right nor wrong? It is. So let's explore that. So I give you this exploration. Even if you're not used to writing, write it down because it brings it out. And don't be shy, because you don't have to share it with anyone. If you noticed, I haven't asked anyone this time to share from their notebooks, because you should feel safe. Write everything out, because there's a fantastic process that starts when you bring the voice of ignorance out. You will automatically starts to shift, and I won't tell you what that shift is. Just let it come out. In truth comes its own wisdom. There is the knowledge that the life in your body is exactly the same as the life in my body, and exactly the same life in your body, your body, your body. Someone who can, without remorse, and there's very few, can cut the head of someone else through an idea, when their idea has overshadowed the inherent wisdom that is within every human being, that life is one and the same and is to be supported and nourished. When the mind has become so distorted, so blackened with thick ideology, they can somehow say your life is not worthwhile and my life is worthwhile. And they can cut and kill without remorse. You're not that person. And most are not that. So listen to the innate, that's the word I was looking for, not inherent, the innate knowledge that life is one and the same. This is why you cannot approach ethics as a subject without including the knowledge of the self. So in Patanjali Yoga Darshan, and this is maybe I'll just touch on it because this could take a whole satsang, what they call the 8 limbs of yoga: yam, niyam, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyan, samadhi. These stages, which are pointed out by the great scientists from yesteryear, that if you turn it, instead of reaching samadhi through ethics, through practice, through how you hold your body, through concentration techniques, and if you then think that you're going to reach samadhi, you've completely misunderstood what these ancient yogis were prescribing. Your original state is samadhi, which means one. Sam means one, oneness. Dhi comes from buddhi, intellect. So the knowledge of buddhi, the knowledge of oneness. The inherent wisdom, I was calling it, which could be the same, knowledge of oneness. Inherent wisdom that I will not want to cause harm to Moldy is samadhi. Because I see that she is one with me. When she's happy, I'm happy. When she's suffering, I am suffering. So this knowledge now, from that knowledge, recognizing that knowledge is a power in you. It doesn't need to be then governed by rules. It will be a natural flow from there that your mind will be in alignment and concentration, and it will not be scattered and confused. And it will then be a natural flow that you will breathe correctly, and you will be able to hold your body correctly, and walk mindfully, eat mindfully, know what foods nourish you, Know what foods harm you. And know what is ethical living. Yam and niyam are last, not first. So I just think the best example for that is put the horse before the cart. Let the horse draw the cart. So your actions, being the cart, are drawn because you are centered in or completely accepting of the wisdom that is of your true self, which is not my self. There's one self, some, one. This is the study, like Alicia said. The focus, the attention, and the love you can give to this question is endless. And my teacher would say, don't stay caught up with who am I? That's the first question, who am I? Meditate on the answer, I am I. I am. The answer is in the question. Take out the who. Like I said, take out the why. Stay now with the answer. Answer yourself. I am. Are you not? Everything that comes after this, I am happy, I am sad, I'm high, I'm low, I am knowing, I'm not knowing, that's all based on I am. So we're very sure in this now. The basis is I am, I, self. When it is in association with kar, which means forms, all that which is formulated after the I, aham, kar, ahankar. When the aham stands alone, meaning it is not now influenced by and therefore made bound by the identity, I am, and then all that which comes after. That's the play. That's, as Pete said, that's what you play there. I am sister. If you know the I am, you don't, oh, I am, is like it's some kind of hollow vortex. I am, therefore, I can play, I am sister. I am feeling, I am thinking, I am acting. So the I am doesn't get lost in the card, it stays just with I am. And then it's the same I am. There is no ego separate from I am. Ego is a word that human beings have described. In truth, there is no ego. It's all I am. It's all God. It's all self, one self. But in order to unmix for whatever design, and we don't need to understand why, it has become mixed with I am good, I am bad, I'm right, I'm wrong, I'm happy, I'm sad. In order to unmix, we've created a concept, ego, so that we can start not to feel bad, my ego, take out the my of ego. What is the study of ego? Meaning, what is the study that has described yourself only as that which is this, the car? Include yourself. Examine from that point. I'm not going to tell you anything you don't know. That was my first thing I said to you. I am not telling you or giving you any information. Only, I hope, to inspire you to truly inquire, explore, and watch the expansion. And then watch the evolution, that you won't rely on a code of ethics. It will be completely in harmony and in alignment with who you are. That you will not want to cut the life in someone else or damage and harm anyone else, because it will be as if damaging yourself. The knowledge of oneself. Remember when I said the spiritual concepts, the most subtle and thereby the most deceptive. What is one of the greatest spiritual concepts? I shouldn't feel. I shouldn't react. Everything's flowing through me.
Right.
When reaction comes, because reaction comes,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean, oh, I lost my knowledge. Just keep observing. There's no right, there's no wrong in this.
Yeah.
In this, you see now the difference. On the level she's speaking, can describe it. This field now that she's talking about is in the field with how to be happy. Basically, how do I live in harmony? This is her question. So this is a lifetime deepening of this knowledge, how this knowledge deepens your mastery in this very reactive game. Not only reactive in your own system, but everyone else's reaction. And this is this fantastic chemistry going on. So be alchemists. You already are an alchemist. Allow, watch, let it be your, Swamiji would always say, this is your laboratory. Experiment.
So the...
And how can you experiment? Observe, as a better way to say, observe and watch. What happens when this happens? What happens when I do this? Take out the my.